The Orlon family's two-level residence stood silently on the outskirts of a small town near Boston. It was a home over 40 years old, weathered by Massachusetts' cold winds and snow-filled winters. In one of the upstairs rooms, Alira Orlon gazed out the window at the gently falling snow. Her chestnut-brown hair lay neatly on her shoulders, but her dark eyes appeared weary, yet resolved. She had just returned from her shift at the community hospital, where she served as a pharmacist. "Dinner is prepared," her mother's voice called from downstairs, crisp and precise as always. "Yes, I'm on my way," Alira responded, shutting her laptop. On the screen was a picture of a small house. She had envisioned it for years. After a decade of diligent saving, she was finally set to purchase it. The next day, she had a meeting with the real estate agent to complete the transaction. As she descended to the dining room, she attempted to disregard the anxious stir in her stomach. Her father, Baron, had already folded his newspaper and was seated quietly at the table, eyeing the casserole dish her mother, Mava, had placed at the center. Baron had retired the previous year after working at the same insurance firm for over 4 decades. His reserved demeanor had always led him to steer clear of conflict, especially with Mava. "You're tardy," Mava remarked as Ira took her seat. "I was wrapping up some paperwork," Alira clarified. Across the table, her younger sister, Talia, grinned and waved. "Hey sis, tough day?" Talia instructed English at the local high school and wore her soft blonde curls loosely tied. A glimmer from her left hand caught Alira's attention. Talia's engagement ring from her fiancé, Cole René. "How are the wedding preparations coming along?" Alira inquired, keeping her tone casual. Talia's expression brightened instantly. "I have a dress fitting next week. You'll join me, right?" "Of course," Alira with a gentle smile. But before she could elaborate, Mava cut in while serving soup into their bowls. "Talia's wedding will be the pinnacle of this family's pride," she stated flatly. "The church service, the reception, the gown, it must all be flawless." Alira nodded and took a sip of soup. For months, family dinners had revolved around Talia's wedding. Her mother referred to it as our moment of triumph. Each day brought fresh plans or ideas. "When will you start taking your life seriously?" Mava's voice sliced through the air. Alira glanced up from her bowl. "What do you mean? I'm taking my life seriously." Mava didn't flinch. "You're 34, still single, and still residing here. Look at Talia. She's constructing a future." "Mava," Baron interjected softly. "Leave her be." But his wife didn't even acknowledge him. "I just want her to be content. A woman only finds true joy when she has a spouse and kids." Alira inhaled deeply, trying not to react. Since childhood, she had always done what her family anticipated. Good grades, a reputable job, no issues. Yet she was still viewed as the letdown. "Sis is a professional woman," Talia interjected with a timid laugh. "Maybe you'll encounter someone pleasant at the wedding." Alira feigned a smile. She didn't wish to quarrel. Tomorrow, everything would shift. She would sign the agreement and initiate the process of relocating to her own house. Yet, the mere thought of informing her family made her stomach churn. "I'll be departing work early tomorrow," Alira declared abruptly, pushing her plate away. "I have an errand to run." "More overtime?" Maya questioned, frowning. "You labor excessively." "Not overtime, Ma," Alira stated calmly. "Just a personal matter." The table went quiet again. Alira resumed eating silently, her gaze fixed on her bowl. In this household, she had always been expected to be the compliant daughter, the one who made sacrifices, the one who remained. But she was finished with that part. That evening upstairs, she sat on her bed, holding the keychain she intended to fasten to her new house key. It bore a tiny silver tree, a symbol of growth and independence. The strength she had purchased it years ago and awaited the ideal moment to utilize it. Tomorrow, that moment would arrive. She turned off the light and lay in darkness, listening to the old radiator's hum. Her chest felt constricted, but she reminded herself this was her aspiration. It was acceptable to prioritize herself now. The following morning, Alira navigated her hospital shift with quiet concentration. While organizing prescriptions, her colleague Lena appeared with 2 hot cups of coffee. "Today's the significant day, right?" she asked, grinning. Alira nodded. "It doesn't seem real yet, honestly." "You've saved for a decade. You deserve this," Lena remarked, handing her the mug. "I know," Alira replied softly, "but it's daunting. I've never made a major decision solely for myself. Everything I've done has always been for my family." Lena leaned against the counter. "Then it's time you did something for yourself. That house will be your sanctuary. I can sense it." Alira smiled and nodded. The home she was acquiring was a charming single-story residence, 15 minutes from the hospital. It featured a bright kitchen, a small front yard, and a bay window ideal for reading. Everything she had ever envisioned. That afternoon, Alira arrived at the real estate office. "Ms. Orlan, welcome," said the agent, a tall man named Jiren. "All the papers are ready. You just need to sign." She sat down, her hands slightly shaking, and carefully read each page before signing, ensuring every detail was correct. "Congratulations," Jiren said, handing her a small brass key. "Officially, the house is yours starting Monday, but this key makes it real." Alira held the key tightly. It was heavier than expected, but its weight felt reassuring, a symbol of all she had worked for. "Thank you," she said, blinking back emotion. As she exited the office, the winter wind bit at her cheeks, but she hardly noticed. She had done it, after all the sacrifices, after years of putting herself aside. This moment was hers. She sat in her car for several minutes, the key still in her hand. At a red light, she looked down at it again. It sparkled slightly in the sunlight. Her new life was about to commence, but first, she had to confront the old one. That night, she would inform her family. Her palms grew clammy just thinking about it, especially imagining her mother's reaction. Still, there was no going back. She inhaled deeply. It was time. "I'm home," Alira called out as she entered the door. "You're tardy again," Mava shouted from the kitchen. "It's Friday." "More overtime?" "No, I had something to attend to," Alira replied, removing her coat. "Can we discuss something after dinner?" Mava paused, then said, "Fine, after we eat." The dinner table, as usual, was filled with talk about Talia's wedding. "Sis, we chose the cake flavor," Talia said excitedly. "Vanilla almond with raspberry filling and the bridesmaids' dresses, light blue. It'll look amazing on you." "Sounds beautiful," Alira said. "I'm looking forward to it." She meant it. She was happy for her sister. But as always, the conversation revolved around Talia, her wedding, and how perfect everything had to be. Alira didn't say much. Her heart was racing now. After dessert, Baron put down his fork. "You said you had something to discuss," he said gently. Ma and Talia looked up at her in unison. Alira reached into her coat pocket and slowly pulled out the Yao key. "I bought a house," she said. Talia's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Mava asked, her face already turning red. "I've been saving for 10 years. Today I signed the contract. I move next week." For a second, the room was completely silent. Then Baron gave a soft nod. "That's sudden, but congratulations, Alira. I'm proud of you." But Mava slammed her spoon onto the table. "What are you thinking?" she shouted. "You're not even married. What kind of woman buys a house all alone?" "A woman who's building her future," Alira answered firmly. "A future for what? You don't even have a husband," Mava snapped. "Women buy homes after they marry." "It looks disgraceful, Alira. What will people say?" "Things are different now," Alira said calmly. "It's normal for women to live independently." "Normal?" Mava scoffed. "You've always been selfish, always doing what you want without considering your family." "My money," Alira started, but Mava cut her off. Your money should have gone to Talia's wedding. Alira blinked. What? Mava stood now, fully red with anger. We had plans. A beautiful church wedding. Over 300 guests. A grand reception. It's only natural for family to contribute. Alira stared at her. I've been saving that money for my future, not for a party. It's not just a party, Talia shouted, tears forming. It's the most important day of my life. Why are you being so cold? Cold, Alira asked, her voice cracking. I gave up so much for this family. I took the job Mom wanted, helped with bills, stayed when I wanted to leave, and now you want my life savings for a wedding? Exactly, Ma exclaimed. You're the oldest. It's your responsibility to support your sister's happiness. Alira stood, slowly. I have the right to my own life. If you walk out that door, Mava snapped, don't ever come back. Mava, Baron tried to say, but she waved him off. I love you, Alira said, but I won't give up my dreams for someone else anymore. She turned and walked toward the stairs, her fingers still wrapped tightly around the house key. Behind her, she could hear Mava's angry voice and Talia sobbing, but she didn't stop. Upstairs, she sat on her bed, holding the keychain she planned to attach to her new house key. It had a tiny silver tree on it, a symbol of growth and independence. She shut the door and finally let herself cry. The next 2 days were quiet. Alira stayed in her room, packing slowly. She didn't speak much to anyone. Meals were left at her door, and Mava called her name several times, but Alira ignored it. Her phone buzzed with missed calls, but she silenced it. Deep down, she wished they would understand, but she knew they wouldn't. On Monday, she left early for work. The hospital was busy, but her exhaustion was deeper than physical. Lena noticed immediately. You okay? She asked. You look awful. I told them, Alira said. Their reaction was exactly what I expected. Lena placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry. You're not alone, you know. Thanks, Alira said. I'm moving this weekend. After her shift, Alira drove straight to her family's home, not her new house just yet. She needed to collect a few important documents, keepsakes, and maybe, just maybe, try once more to fix things. When she arrived, both Mava's and Talia's cars were in the driveway. Her heart tightened. Still, she walked to the front door and stepped inside. I'm home, she called softly. No answer. Then Mava's voice came from the living room. We're in here. Alira entered and found both women sitting stiffly on the couch. On the table were wedding catalogs and budget papers. Sit down, Mava said firmly. Alira obeyed, her stomach churned. We've talked this over as a family, Mava began. And while we still don't agree with your decision, we're willing to forgive you. Forgive me, Alira repeated, confused. Yes, Mava said, but under one condition. Talia pulled out a printed document. This is the wedding estimate. It'll cost nearly $50,000. And? Alira asked cautiously. We want you to contribute at least $30,000 from the money you used to buy the house, Mava said. Alira stared at them, stunned. You must be joking. I already paid the down payment. The rest of the money is for moving and starting my new life. But this is your sister's special day, Mava said, her voice rising. As family, you have a duty. Mom, I've been saving little by little every month for 10 years. That wasn't for anyone else, it was for me, Alira said, her voice steady but tight. Talia wiped her eyes. Why are you being like this? You've always been the mature one. Don't you care about me at all? I do care, Talia. But happiness doesn't come from a fancy wedding. It comes from love and commitment, Alira said gently. Mava stood, fists clenched. You talk like you know so much, but you've always been selfish. You're just pretending to be noble. Alira stood too. That money is mine. I earned it. I've made my choice. Rights, Mava spat. You were born into this family. That means something. Individual wants don't come before family. Alira's heart ached. I'm done being guilted for wanting a life of my own. I'm going upstairs, she said. I just came for my things. Wait, Mava shouted, stepping in front of her. We're not done talking. Mom, please. Alira froze as Mava grabbed a fistful of her hair. You'll regret this, Alira, she hissed. From her pocket, Mava pulled a lighter and flicked the flame to life. Maybe this will wake you up. Alira's scream echoed through the room as fire touched her hair. Mom, stop! Talia shrieked. Smoke filled the air. Alira dropped to her knees, slapping at the flames. In seconds, Baron came running in. Mava, what the hell are you doing? He shouted, grabbing water from the kitchen and pouring it over Alira's head. Her hair was scorched on one side, the smell of burnt strands thick in the air. Alira sat on the floor shaking, her cheeks soaked with tears. I'll never come back, she said in a broken voice, standing with her wet hair clutched in one hand. Sis, wait, Talia began. You betrayed this family, Mava snapped. Alira didn't respond. She stepped into the cold air and closed the door behind her. The following Saturday was warm and sunny, a sharp contrast to the tension of the previous week. Alira's new house sat proudly behind a white picket fence, an old maple tree swaying in the front yard. Her hospital colleagues arrived one by one, helping carry boxes from their cars. Where do you want this? Lena asked, holding a large kitchen. Box. Kitchen counter's fine. Alira smiled. 5 days had passed since the fire. Her once shoulder-length hair was now a short, stylish cut, trimmed evenly to hide the burned side. A small scar was visible at the edge of her forehead, but the emotional scar was deeper. You've got so many people who care about you, said Lena's boyfriend Milo, carrying a bookshelf. Thank you, Alira replied softly. She meant it. Without her friends, she didn't know how she would have survived. By noon, the house was filled with laughter and the smell of pizza. In the living room, they toasted with plastic cups. To Alira's courage, Lena said. And to her new life, cheers. The room echoed. Then the doorbell rang. Alira opened the door to find Cole, Talia's fiancé, standing on the porch. He looked unusually serious. Cole, what are you doing here? I need to talk. Is this a good time? She glanced back at her friends, then stepped outside. They sat together on the front bench. Talia said you used the wedding fund for your house, Cole began. She also said you cut your hair on a whim. Alira gave a bitter laugh. Is that what she told you? She gently pushed her bangs aside, revealing the scar. Then she quietly told Cole everything, how she had saved for a decade, how her mother had reacted, and how the fire started. When she finished, Cole looked pale. I can't believe it, he whispered. Mava did that? Yes, Alira said, and Talia just stood there. Cole stared at the street, expression unreadable. She's been obsessed with this wedding, he muttered. She kept saying, don't worry, my sister will cover it. Now I know what that meant. There's something else, Cole said, lowering his voice. You run Innovative Living, right? The eco-furniture company? Alira blinked. How do you know that? I work in construction design. Your name came up a few times. Our office uses your furniture. Alira's mouth fell open. I never told anyone, not even my family. You should have. You're incredibly talented, he said with a small smile. Then he pulled an envelope from his coat. I found this in Talia's desk. It's a plan for house repairs and a honeymoon gift. You wrote it. Alira's breath caught. I left that behind months ago. She never even read it, Cole said. She's only been thinking about herself. They sat in silence for a moment. I'm ending the engagement, Cole said at last. What? Alira gasped. Don't you love her? I thought... I did, Cole replied, but I can't marry into a family that justifies violence and greed. Alira looked at him with mixed emotions. You don't have to do that because of me. It's not just about you, Cole said. It's about truth. That evening, Elira stood on her porch, watching the sun dip behind the rooftops. Her guests had gone home, leaving warmth behind. Cole had left too, saying he had something important to discuss with Talia. Elira felt strangely calm. Her past was behind her now. The next few weeks were filled with quiet progress. She painted her bedroom in soft sage green, lined the bay window with cushions and plants, and even hosted small dinners for friends. Her business grew, gaining more local attention. Then one afternoon, her phone rang. The screen said, "Dad." She hesitated, then answered. "Hi, Dad." "Hi, Elira." Baron's voice was tired but soft. "Can we talk?" "Sure." She stepped into her sunroom. "I met with a lawyer yesterday. He said I filed for divorce." Elira covered her mouth. "Dad, I've been quiet too long," Baron said. "But what Mava did to you, that was the end for me. I want to start over too. I support you," Elira said, tears rising. "Thank you." Baron replied, his voice trembling. "I should have spoken up years ago. I'm sorry I didn't protect you." "It's not too late," Elira said. There was silence for a moment. Then Baron asked gently, "Did you hear about Talia?" "Only a little." After Cole broke things off, Mava's plans fell apart. She started getting cold looks at church. Rumors spread. Talia's colleagues began to distance themselves. "She's devastated. Mava keeps yelling at her, asking why she couldn't hold on to Cole." Elira said nothing. Her heart twisted, but her mind stayed clear. "I don't hate them, Dad," she whispered, "but I can't go back." "I understand," Baron said. "Maybe someday. We can see each other again." "Anytime," Elira said. "You're always welcome here." After they hung up, Elira looked around her home. Warm sunlight streamed through the kitchen window. Her furniture, made with her own hands, glowed with quiet strength. This was her sanctuary, her place, her life. A few months later, Elira hosted a barbecue in her backyard. Friends filled the garden with laughter and conversation. Children ran across the grass. Lena stood by the grill, flipping burgers. "Did you design this table too?" Milo asked. "Yes," Elira said proudly. "All the wood sustainably sourced." Her business, Innovative Living, had gained a strong following. She had just hired 2 assistants and was planning to open a small showroom. "You've built something amazing," Lena said. "Thank you," Elira smiled. "It hasn't been easy, but I finally feel like myself." Her short hair curled slightly in the heat, and the small scar on her forehead caught the golden light. It no longer felt like a wound. It felt like proof that she had survived. As the sun began to set, Elira walked to the front porch with a slice of cake in her hand. The breeze was soft, and birds sang in the distance. She sat on the wooden bench where she and Cole had spoken months ago. The bench had new cushions now. The pain of that night still lingered, but not as sharp. More like a memory she had learned to carry without letting it break her. She had created her own family through friends, mentors, and colleagues, people who saw her not as a role to fill, but as a person to respect. She leaned back and closed her eyes, letting the peace of the evening wrap around her. She had no regrets. Her life was finally her own. "Elira, we're cutting the cake," Lena's voice called from the backyard. Elira stood and turned toward the laughter. "Coming!" she shouted, her smile bright and free as she walked across the grass. She passed the maple tree in the yard. Its leaves danced in the wind like tiny flags of victory. The tree had stood there long before her, but now it was part of her story. Just like this house, just like the key in her pocket, a symbol of growth, courage, and choosing herself. And she knew, without a doubt, that she would never again let anyone take her voice. I hope you found the story enjoyable. If you did, be sure to hit the like button, share your thoughts on the lesson from this tale, and remember to subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories like this. Thank you.